Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. We've all heard that saying from Warren Buffett many, many times. But what does that actually look like in a chart? Let's take a look in today's video. Bitcoin climbing the wall of worry. We're going to update all of the worry that has occurred in the market and also take a look at our Bitcoin fear and greed plan, showing us where we have purchased Bitcoin at the lows and of course what the profits are like at the moment. You can grab your copy of the fear and greed plan and also keep up to date with our crypto trade alerts and altcoin portfolios using the Patreon link down below. Check out the annual subscription, 16% off. Buying it within the month gives you that rest of the month for free, plus 12 months from that point. So really good value. Something else that is fantastic value, subscribing to the YouTube channel and hitting that like button down below. Let's go for 10% and dive into the video. The Fear and Greed Index is sitting at 55 today. Yesterday, 56, and last month we swung all the way back to extreme fear. So we've gone extreme fear into greed in the matter of 30 days. You can see on the chart here that we did happen to sit in extreme fear and fear for a period of time before the market's broken out. Eventually, these cycles, these times in the market have to turn, and we have to go from fear to greed again, and then all the way back, greed to fear. So we want to make the most of these times and be purchasing at some good times in the market to be able to profit later on. It's always the most difficult to be buying when there is a ton of fear in the market because the same thought always comes up: can the market go lower? So to get around these emotional blockages of the human psyche and work our ways into a little more of a mechanical sense to make money from the markets as investors, we have a pretty simple fear and greed plan here. So the main thing I'm looking at here is Bitcoin goes up and to the right, long term, that's the right direction. And that just means that the price goes up. That's long-term view. So we're looking at times to enter the market, and entry trigger is at 15 or less. And so what we've seen over the last almost 12 months, from when I started this plan back in May of 2020, when we saw those extreme fear bars and the market was just extremely, obviously fearful, was some good times to be buying Bitcoin. So over that period, we have now purchased 18 times, $1,000 a pop, just as an exercise here to see when the good times were. And the average price is now sitting around $35,500. Now, this doesn't mean that we're always going to get the exact bottom or that the market can't go any lower than this, and we should have just not bought anything and waited for the market to go lower, because honestly, we don't know. And there's always the emotions involved. As the market started to climb through this $30,000 period all the way back up to $69,000, you can imagine what the feelings and the psyche were if you hadn't have bought anything in the 30,000s, 34, 37,000, even though the market did drop to 29,000 in 2021. So it sort of helps keep all of the emotional baggage at bay, and the emotions that tend to give us or make us choose the wrong decisions at the wrong times. So the total at the moment, half a Bitcoin, $18,000. The return is at 34% profit, obviously $6,000 on that $18,000 invested. And then this just gives you the initial price. So it's just some simple automations within an Excel or Google Docs spreadsheet. For my long-term strategies, I invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now I post about this in the Patreon group, which I mentioned earlier. There's a link in the description down below. This is really simple and nice to have a very simple plan for the long-term investing, because then you don't have to worry so much about what you're doing. You basically just stick to the plan and buy when the market is fearful. So I do this in my superannuation, which is essentially an Australian retirement fund. And that's where today's video sponsor comes in, which is iTrust Capital. For the US guys, you can obviously purchase your cryptocurrency and metals within your own IRAs using that link down below for iTrust Capital. Now, if you use that link, there's $100 of free funding credit specifically with that link. And of course, that allows you to then trade cryptocurrency tax-free within your IRAs. So I do something similar here in Australia. That's another option to be able to get into cryptocurrencies and just keep a long-term perspective on the market rather than short-term trading. Either is okay in the account, but personally, that's what I do and that's what I post about, as you'll see the updates as regular viewers here on the channel and of course, members in Patreon. Now for the Bitcoin wall of worry. This comes up all the time. The markets go up, there are problems arising in the market. I've labeled a few of them here on the chart with little pink arrows from when these occurred. Obviously, you can see the little pink up arrow here back in March of 2020 was the COVID crash low. Probably the best time in recent history of Bitcoin, calling recent history the last 3, 4, 5 years, to be buying Bitcoin. So those extreme panic times, of course, if we can get into the markets and potentially get some pretty good gains over the coming years. Bitcoin climbs a wall of worry. Stock markets climb a wall of worry. Real estate climbs a wall of worry. Asset prices tend to climb walls of worry, and then they bucket down in the escalator. So what we've seen over the last 12 or so months, Janet Yellen, illicit use of crypto. This was earlier on a couple of years ago. Carbon footprint, dirty mining. That's what we had early last year. That started to make its way into the news narrative. China mining blackout. That's where we had the crash in May. China said we don't want it anymore, and the market tanked from that point. But obviously, we can see from history that the market bounced back. President Biden, capital gains tax doubling. Remember the fears of the doubling of capital gains came in at this point here. Elon Musk, Bitcoin is not green enough, said he's not going to accept Bitcoin anymore. First, I'll accept Bitcoin. Some of these pink arrows here where Elon Musk tweeted about accepting Bitcoin or buying some Bitcoin as well, and then saying we're not getting any more, waiting for Bitcoin to become more green. I'm sure that time will come again, and the market will obviously start to price that in. Liquidations, flash crashes, we had that in September. So we got 7th of September right here. The market basically just moved up for a little while and then just tanked from that point. Basically in that early September period, there was just a lot of leverage trading. So liquidation, flash crash. China banned Bitcoin mining. Again, that was through May. And then there was some other times when China talked about banning more cryptocurrency trades. Bull market is over. Again, that fear just comes into the market. It's all done. Here's the lower top. So this was the fear. We had the highs up here, and then this high formed with the liquidation, and then Evergrande came into the mix right down here. So the fear was that we were seeing a lower top. I saw all sorts of calls for this being a head and shoulders. So here's one shoulder, here's the head, here's another shoulder. What about this? I'm sure the market's going to break down. And if we did break down 69 to 29, the calls were to then move this over to this point and say, look, the market's going to $14,000 or $12,000 based on a head and shoulders. Fear after fear after fear. It's a good reminder of what we can expect to see in the market should we not make it back above our resistance zone and find support. So I'm always playing that in the back of my mind because my long-term perspective is market is going up. I'm seeing Bitcoin going up at this point. Even if we do get a little move down, hopefully a move back above. And so I'd be looking at this as a potential buy opportunity. Doesn't get that low, only makes it to the 40s. Okay, we'll soon find out from that point as well. The next thing that happened was Evergrande collapse. We looked at that mid 2021, which was September, I should say, 2021. Evergrande collapse. We needed to see the world end because there was a lot of US companies that were involved in the Evergrande collapse. There was also cryptocurrency exchanges and companies that were tied up in the collapse. Yet, what happened? The market continued up from that point, and we're basically still, at this point, above all of the noise that happened back in 2021. Let me keep going down the list here. Liquidations, they happened again. We saw that starting to come off in October and November. I remember there was a few more liquidations as the market started to climb higher. So I'm reading off this little chart down here. US CGT on unrealized profits. That came back on the table again, and that was the reason, apparently, for the Bitcoin sell-off. Now, of course, I know that some people are going to disagree with me. That's okay. I am going to invest and trade how I see it. And obviously everyone should be doing their own investing and trading as well. But when I hear of all of these calls of CGT, unrealized profits, extreme fear, the market is selling because of that, potentially it is possible, but the cycle is also turning down as well. The market needed more time to rest and recover, build back some energy into the market because it didn't really make it back past the all-time high with much strength. It just bounced above and then started to fall back under. COVID variants. So we had the COVID variants come through again, scared the market off. US market crash. Yes, we had that as well. fearful. That spills over into cryptocurrency as well, because it's a much riskier asset to be playing with compared to real estate. Real estate and the US stock market. And then we had interest rate rise scare. So that was coming through in January, that the market's going to be getting an interest rate rise. But as we know from history, it priced it in, and it wasn't as bad as first initially thought, because here are the new updates. Russia invaded Ukraine. So we had that on the 24th of February. And as we can see, that marked a higher low for crypto, well, for Bitcoin at least. That's pretty interesting to note, that we had a higher low rather than what we saw in January, which was around the Fed meetings at that point in time. Interest rate rise, we had that in March. Market still goes up. Recession fears have started to circle again. Market is still going up. I'm going to continue to add all of the worries now that we've gone through the market and seen that the fears just continue to circulate, even though the overall strength of the market remains intact from what the data and the smart money is telling us. We can see the lows that came in January, the lows that came in May, June, July, and then the current lows of January and February. So as I said earlier, I am still expecting some sort of significant low, but the idea here is, are we going to see a higher low and then a move up, or a lower low get rejected and see a lower low? That's yet to be decided. At the moment, it's looking like we'll get a higher low, because the market has found significant support at this point in time around that low to mid $30,000. Stay tuned to the channel. We'll continue to update the wall of worry, all of the worries that come into the market, and then see how that plays out with the fear and greed index and a long-term buying strategy. Remember to check out the link to Patreon if you want to get more details about the fear and greed plan, and of course our altcoin portfolios, what I'm trading, what Michael's trading. A link to iTrust Capital and $100 of free funding credit when you set up your account using the link down below is also there. And there's a few hours left to enter the exclusive Ethereum giveaway. $4,000 up for grabs there. 4 lucky winners will get $1,000 each. The link is down below, the Bybit link. Deposit at least $10 and you're in the draw. Thanks again for watching, and I don't want to have to ask, but I will. Like, subscribe. See you guys at the next video. Until then, have more fun to get more done.